we are still affordable. We are this big city, but people can still afford to live downtown. And I do want to protect that as Mayor of Montreal. So you are right to say that a lot of people, investors, are interested in Montreal. And so I need to find a right balance. So yes, I want to welcome those investments, but at the same time, how do we make sure that anyone can afford to stay in the city? So this is why we came up with a very bold strategy around creating 12,000 units of affordable and social housing in the next few years to address this need of keeping the economic and social mixity within the city of Montreal.
One of the things that the federal budget could potentially target is creating housing more affordable for millennials. Are you worried that by creating more buyers in the market that might increase prices and thus work against your plan to create more affordable housing?
Well, it is a good question because housing is very complex in terms of what needs to be put in place. In other cities in Canada, like Toronto and Vancouver, because the pricing was getting so high, they decided to impose a tax to foreign investors. Wherefore, here in Montreal, this is not where I'm going for now, though we are really we are checking on the market on a regular basis. If needed, we might go there, but right now, I'm more using the different tools that we have to make sure that we can have this balance, again, of creating social and affordable housing. But for that, I both need the provincial and the federal government to help me with that, because I don't have, as a city, the power and most importantly, the finances, the money to support this entirely this strategy.
So what specifically would you be looking for in terms of direct measures?
Well, we know that the government of Canada have created this very audacious strategy for housing, a national housing strategy, sorry. But I have to say right now there's a bit of a money being stuck, like the intention are there, but what we're hoping for is to get the amount of money that is necessary, because we know that when it's time to create social and affordable housing, there has to be a mix of financial resources being implemented. As well, for me, what's important is, and this is what I'm expecting from the government of Canada with their budget, is to make sure that Montreal stays this very vibrant city, and that touches the housing, but also the economic growth of the city. And let's not forget that Montreal is the city in Canada that had the highest economic growth in last year, and I want to continue on that. So that means investing in innovation and infrastructure, investing in the port as well, and I have to say everything related to the 5G is very crucial, because here in Montreal, the AI industry is very important, very vibrant. So I feel like it's all interconnected. So I'm hoping that the federal government will see how Montreal is the city where we need to invest massively.
On that new 5G technology, do you feel like their stance or the fact that we don't have a declaration on Huawei's participation affects growth in your municipality?
Those are really good questions that I feel like, the ethic and confidentiality and how we use data is crucial. And we hear it from the population. Citizens are worried about that, though there's so much potential when we think about the Internet of Objects and how we can help the city to make better decisions. We need to be careful on how we use privacy and data. So we are working here at the city to create this really innovative, I would say, not program, but boundaries and regulation, so we can better support and make sure that the citizens feel safe. And again, here in Montreal with the AI industry and the ecosystem, those ethic questions are really on top of the file. So I feel like we're well surrounded, but it has to move forward together.
How do you strike the balance between attracting that kind of tech investment, that tech talent? You mentioned that huge hub that Montreal has become specifically for artificial intelligence, and maintaining affordable housing. How do you avoid becoming like Silicon Valley, where housing is not affordable, especially in San Francisco? And even when Amazon in Seattle, you've seen a big run-up in home prices there as a result of tech's presence. How do you strike that balance?
And that's the crucial question. And so we're moving forward with creating a regulation. We call it the inclusion bylaw, which will make sure that any investors that create new housing in Montreal will have to have 20% of social housing, 20% of affordable, and 20% of family housing, so bigger apartment. So we're really proactive. We're really audacious in this new bylaw. And I know that other cities in Canada, even in the States, are looking at us because we're really trying to engage investors and promoters to think, I think it's good for me also for doing business to have this notion of affordability. So I want to make sure that everybody's on board. It takes time. We need to be convincing. We need to be well prepared, but this is what we are working on. So we will be presenting this bylaw very soon to the promoters because they need to know what's going on. But I'm confident that if we want to keep this this viability for Montreal, if we want to continue to stay this big city at a human scale, this is how we often define Montreal, which attracts so many investors. Well, we need to keep the mixed city.